Public Works. So he's going to start by giving us his program, and then we will go from there. Mr. Messier.
Okay, thank you. Shortly, do a little slideshow. Tried to keep it simple. We have a lot of different departments to go through. But obviously, give you a little rundown of what's going to happen in 2019, and then just a short discussion, and then we'll open up to any questions. Start with the Office of Compliance. Still the same amount of employees, it's 2.5. It's actually 2 full-time compliance auditors, 0.3 for office manager and 0.2 for the Director of Public Works. Some of the things we'll be doing is continue to work with water and sewer compliance. Obviously, the lease concession is 50 years, and that's every year that goes on, we're going to have to be watching to make sure that they're doing what they need to do. They want to do some work with IT, expanding the SharePoint site for internal reporting and records management. Again, work with IT to make sure we're actually putting a lot of what we have available online. So this way it should reduce the amount of right to knows that we have. And also then the last uncompleted work project will be closed out this year. That was one of the projects that was started when the city of Allentown had the water and sewer with the meters, but that will be closed out this year. Engineering, some of the projects that we'll be working on for 2019. We're lucky enough to have some grant money. I believe it was multimodal DCED, and the match money then also to do Gordon Street streetscaping, something similar to what we've done on Chew Street and Turner Street. Obviously, we'll have our 2019 curb and sidewalk contract. We have a very large paving program again. Happy to see. So along with that, that's going to be a large project also to do that. So also there's funding in here again to do another street maintenance as far as whether or not it's done with oil chip and fog seal or if it's microsurfacing. Some of the roads we were looking at were a little questionable on which product we're going to use yet. But again, that's something that it's very inexpensive. It's something we can get done quick, and we actually normally get about 4 miles of roadway maintenance done with that. We're glad to see that, again, we have another ADA handicap ramp project for 2019. Obviously, there's a lot of work that's still coming into the engineering office, a lot of subdivisions, a lot of new buildings, a lot of things happening in Allentown. So it's very busy with that. Also, one of our goals was also to look at the street canopy, the tree canopy. And, you know, we saw that we had an audit a few years ago from Penn State, and we were really declining in the amount of trees that we actually had. So we're being very aggressive through some of the stormwater fees and through grants to actually go out and put more trees out there in the streetscape. One of the other projects that we've been waiting for a while was to get some funding for 7th Street. Right now they have the teardrop lights that are actually for the roadway, but we will also actually have teardrops and for the sidewalk area. So this way there'll be actually pedestrian lighting for that area, and that it's a long time coming for that. But that will actually happen from Linden Street north all the way out to the city line. We already have approval from PennDOT to put the lights on the poles. We'll be ordering them very shortly, and that should be something that hopefully sometime in the spring we'll be able to get started on. Next is building maintenance. Obviously, we don't have a brand new building here at City Hall. There's things that we have to try to upgrade and keep maintained as best as we can. Part of that is relining the cooling tower for the tank. I know we had some issues this year where we had some valves that were bad. Luckily, we have some really talented people in our building maintenance department. They were capable to find where the issues were, get the correct valves, and get it to the point where we had proper cooling. You know, one of the offices that was very warm was actually council's office, so, but we were able to clear that up. Some more maintenance. We have a rooftop unit for central fire and two more 10-ton HVAC units for over building maintenance that are scheduled to go up next year. Obviously, we were able to start getting rid of some of the documents that we had to hold on to forever, so we're really aggressively working and emptying out the records room, and part of it being is we're trying to really clean things up over there, because eventually we're gonna need some more offices. There's some more stormwater personnel that are gonna be necessary for our permit compliance, so we need to work out and get ahead of that. And actually, one thing that you know, we looked at throughout the year, we always go out and we always make sure everybody else has to maintain and monitor their sidewalks and curbing. We took a look at ourselves, and we're gonna start a monitoring program of all of our properties to be able to make sure that we're providing safe walkways for everybody too. So we think that's the right thing to do. Streets, we will continue to work with utility companies. UGI is pretty much our largest shared programs that we have. We were actually capable this past year of completing a project on Walnut Street from 15th to 10th. They paid for all the asphalt. We ended up doing the work, and they also gave us a donation of $100,000 towards the handicap ramps. There's some projects we're working on for next year at this point in time, and we're hoping we can keep addressing some of these other streets in conjunction with our utility companies. We took a look at our paving. I mean, we're going to continue with, like I said again, we're sharing work with the utility companies, but with the monies that we were budgeted this year through liquid fuels and through our short-term loan that was providing capital for us, we're going to be capable of doing another 7-mile program in-house with all of our employees. Along with that, there's other things that we need to do. So we've added on equipment over the years. We've bought our own sealers, our own crack seal, rubberized crack seal machines. So far, we've been able to pretty much seal 3 miles a year, and then also do another 2 miles of crack seal. We're gonna give it our all to get that done for 2019 also. Just some other things, we wanna make sure that we continue to prioritize our potholes. I mean, it's one of the largest complaints that we have, whether it's depressions or potholes or whatever, but we wanna continue to be able to respond to those within 48 hours and identify areas for quality of life and clean up those dirty areas. Just a little note with that, with some notes we put in. When we were going through the budget, basically we took a look at you know, the general fund in itself and what impact it really is for public works. We're pretty much just a tiny bit over 10% of what the general fund is. So we're looking at about $11.7 million out of the total budget. But we also did some little facts here with for street maintenance. When we're looking at streets itself, what's really the impact of the general fund? It's 8.13% out of the general fund budget, but in our overall budget that we have, it's only 2.55% of the impact. So we're lucky enough to have very good funding coming through for our liquid fuels, for our solid waste, and our stormwater fees. So just really wanted to point out that the work that's actually getting done through Public Works, it is a very small part of really what the general fund is. Traffic planning and control. We're going to manage the LED streetlight conversion, phase one. Right now, we're waiting for signatures on the contract to get them out. We're at a point where we have funding, so this way we can start working on phase two. We're gonna step out the area from where we are and expand it throughout the downtown city. So we're hoping to get phase two also, get to the point where it's designed, out for RFP, and then also installed for 2019. Currently, there's a project going on 15th Street. It's actually a state project, but we're assisting them with all the traffic and signal improvements that are going to be along with that project. Obviously, again, there's a lot of reviews that are coming in, a lot of permits, a lot of land developments. Our office is never at the point where we can actually breathe. It's very challenging, but again, the engineering office, so they stand up to the test of time of what's necessary for it, and they handle everything that comes along with it, so I'm very proud of them for that. Obviously, we're always looking for grants. We have a lot of projects going on right now, but we're gonna continue to look for more grant opportunities. And if you've driven the American Parkway, you'll see that there are some signs over there that, speed signs that don't work. There were some things that we tried to put there temporarily. Obviously, that's not something that we can actually permit. So in 2019, we are gonna get permitted areas over there and install the proper speed boards for that area. Technical services, one thing when you're looking at the budgets for there used to be two budgets. We have them both combined into one, so as you're looking through there, if you see certain items that are a little bit more expensive and you can't find the second one, it's not there. They're both combined into one. I can tell you that Dennis and his guys have been very busy. It's been a challenge, but I can tell you that they're moving forward, and they're to the punch list of some items that need to be done, but we're gonna make sure that the radio system project is completed, all the punch list is done, and what we're gonna do is, so there were some radios that were purchased earlier on in 2013 up to this date. The radios are fine. They need to be programmed to be P25 compliant with the rest of them, so there is some funding in there for that to get done. We're taking a look at some of the amplifiers and some of the items that we have at the fire station for alerting. We're looking at updating 4 fire stations this year. This is something that I'm very happy to see in this budget. We're bringing in the house the fact of being able to do the city surveillance cameras. So you will see that there is a bucket truck and an employee that will be placed into this department and be able to take care of those services in the house at a very cheaper rate than what it is right now. Also looking at the fact of starting to bring some of the services that over the year were contracted out, actually bring them back and put them, in-house again. We have the talented people to do that, and that's the way it's budgeted for this year. And along with that is just saying that we're gonna do all the surveillance camera maintenance. Recycling and solid waste. There's a long list of things that I can put in here for this. Tried to really point it down to a few. We could talk hours, but so some of the things that we're very proud of recycling and solid waste is the fact of whatever we purchase there, we always try to look for grants to be able to take care of funding them. We may purchase the pieces in advance, but then there's 902, 904, plenty of different grants. And we actually, through them, they do a great job applying for the funds and actually making sure that we're getting reimbursed for it. So this way we can control the rate of what it is for the trash rate also. So it's really a big thing what they do for that. Obviously, we're gonna increase residential and commercial recycling. We actually had our first Earth Day Festival this past year. It was a very great event. So they're very excited and working on the one for next year. So it's one thing to look out for and actually it's a great event. Obviously, we have Sweep in Education. That is a program that helps the quality of life. We're going to maintain the litter receptacle programs, make sure that we're performing illegal dumping and homeless camp cleanups. Obviously, one of the biggest things that really curtails these problems is the fact of education. So we're really going to take a look in 2019 as far as really getting out into the community and getting people to understand what the do's and don'ts are. So I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting year for the recycling department. Okay, stormwater department, this will be the second year actually with stormwater fees since it was put in place. Obviously, there's a lot of work. When I said a year ago we had a 10-year plan, well, we have 9 years to go on that one yet. There's still a lot of work to do. I can tell you that through meeting with EPA and DEP, they're very happy with how we've progressed and how that we look at things a different way than what we did in the past. So it's something that it's going to be a program that's going to keep growing and growing, and it's something that involves all of us. So just so you can understand that. So obviously, part of what's going to happen in our 10-year program for next year, we're developing an industrial inspection program. We're going to the fact of in-stream monitoring program that is a lot more aggressive than what we currently do. We're establishing a new sweeping program. We were capable of purchasing a different type of sweeper instead of a mechanical sweeper. It's an air regenerative sweeper that actually will clean up more of the sediment and keep it from going into the streams. We're going to promote the city's credits program. I can tell you there are some people that are interested in the accredited incentive program, and we have some people that we're working with. It's something I believe we need to get out a little bit more and engage with the community on it. But that's for 2019, that's going to be a big priority for what we're doing. Just looking at some of the other things, 4,000 feet of pipelining projects were actually done. We haven't done that in a long time. We're actually getting to the point now where we're taking care of some of those lines where in our mind were hazards to be out there and really needed the work to be done. The guys are doing a great job too, 350 inlets citywide. They're gonna go out and rebuild 60,000 feet of storm pipes. There's a lot of work out there, but we're capable enough with that fee to be able to have a good program with it now and move it in the right direction. And this is just a little reminder of the Thanksgiving schedule. Also in your packet, also from what I provided, there always seems to be a question when jobs are actually 0.2 here, 0.3 there, 0.5 here. What we wanted to do was actually give you the breakdown of the employees that are actually split into different departments, which departments and funds they're paid out of, and then also there's a page number in the budget book, so this way if you wanted to go look at it, there's a page number so you could easily see what's going on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Messinger. Okay, I have some questions, then I'll open it up to my colleagues, and then Mr. Glazier, the mayor, and then anyone from the public.
Actually, can I say one more thing?
You can, sir.
I know we're always told to look for ways to save money and to get to the point where anywhere we can save. So we're lucky enough to, instead of doing the electric contract the same way, doing a reverse auction, we actually went out and we took a look and we looked at some other avenues, and there was a good one under the CoStar's contract actually that we went out with, and we partnered with them. I'll just give you, for instance, in the street lighting, end of the charges for electricity. We were capable this year already, and it's estimated out to the end of the year, but our estimated savings would go on this new contract is $150,000 just off of that, off the street lighting and the intersections. But then also, you'll see a big deduction then also in the building maintenance for our actual City Hall, Bridgeworks, South, the 10th Street Police Station. We were also capable there of saving estimated about $95,000 till the end of the year. So just in that contract alone with those two sections, we've saved $245,000. So understand, we are looking for any way we can save money. We're looking for new ways of doing things. Actually, Jeff had asked if we could take a look at the rest of the budgets then for the different departments, and Cassie and I will be working on that, so this way we can see what other savings we can put towards the budget.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because that will be something I was gonna mention. First of all, before I get into my questions, I want to have you please thank your gentleman for a difficult job they had last Thursday night with the snow. It was tough to plow any streets when all the traffic was there. Most of the schools and the businesses got out about the same time. So tell them they did a great job, and as we talked, Friday morning was a lot better than Thursday night, as you said it would be, and it was. Although I did get to be off from school, so they didn't do it. Thank you.
Well, I gave him a call and said, just close it.
Just enough. Okay, on page 4, the top slide, the technical services.
Okay.
I have a question. Is there any reason that the learning equipment has to be fixed or replaced this year?
As far as, okay, so
Page 4, the top slide under technical services.
all right, so as far as the maintenance on the
Are you,
camera systems?
yeah, no, the new amplifiers, the second.
Oh, the new amplifiers for, yeah, they're way outdated.
Okay,
They're
but do they
outdated.
work?
Most of the time.
Okay,
When we get to the point where it's with public safety,
I
I
agree.
really think that's something we
Yeah.
do need to work on.
they're that bad.
Yes.
Okay. And if you can give an estimate, when you said you're gonna start doing some of the in-house, the same slide, some of the in-house stuff to save money, how much you think you're gonna save?
Well,
Other than that
when-
245?
When you look at just the contract for doing the traffic cameras, I believe that contract was somewhere in about the $300,000 range. So by putting an employee in with benefits and everything else, you're probably looking at about $75,000. The first year, you're gonna have to spend $140,000 to actually get the bucket truck, but that's a one-time purchase. So when we're looking at doing things in-house, now, again, we're gonna have to budget for a couple more radios, we're gonna have to budget for a couple cameras, but I can easily see us saving at least $100,000 on doing it in-house,
Okay,
if not more.
all right. Okay, so if we go to the little book, the detailed book, under Public Works, page 31. I just noticed right away off of permanent wages, you have about a $6,000 reduction. Did someone retire, or, that's good, it's a savings, I'm just asking. You can explain it?
It's from the salary for the public works director's position.
Oh, okay, all right, I got you. Okay, and page 32, under the 40 account, and I saw this in a lot of budgets, the state of the city. I'm just kind of curious, maybe I can answer this later, why we're paying $50 a person to go to that. I just think that if someone wants to go to it, they would just probably pay themselves. And like I said, it's in almost all the budgets I saw. So. All right, page 33. You have, under the 06 account, the overtime for the office manager. I'm assuming that's for snow call out?
That would be for any snow work that would be necessary, but then there's some meetings that they have to attend after hours, and it is an hourly employee, so.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, page 34, under the legal services account, section 40, account 44. we're paying 36,000 roughly for outside legal fees for consultation.
There's a lot of, different, let's just say, legal things going on between LCA and the city right now. When you look at legal fees, that are paid out of the solicitor's office, those are specifically looking at the fact of, litigation. So there are some other things that we need actual advice and actual assistance with to make sure we're prepared to be able to go into those. So we need to budget that separately.
Okay.
And that's why we're forthright in showing that in this line item.
Okay, but then also right under that, account 46, you basically have the same thing for another roughly $48,000.
Right, the first line in 46 is the Dan Koplish contract that we have. Quite honestly, with the knowledge that we had and base that we had with this lease going on, and the knowledge base he has, it's a big asset, and I can tell you that in the long run, it's saving us money.
Okay, all right. But it's nothing our in-house attorneys can do, correct?
That stuff, no.
Okay,
It's the technical end of it.
okay, all right. All right, page 38, under design permits and inspections. Under account 46, engineering consulting for survey, we don't have our own surveyors?
Yes, we do, but this is pretty much put in there. I'll give you, for instance, how we had the sinkholes up on South 10th Street, Gordon. When it gets to the point where we have certain ground stabilization where it's not there, we need to be able to pull in some other experts in there, let us know if grouting needs to be placed. So they have the different mechanical equipment then also for it as they're doing that. So before we go with any repairs, we have to know what status we're at. And that money there, sometimes it needs to be spent, sometimes it doesn't need to be spent.
All right. The reason I ask these questions is I think the public needs to know
Sure.
what we're spending their money for.
Sure.
Okay, page 40, under fleet maintenance. I just saw, maybe this is because it's an outright set contract. I didn't see no area for permanent wages, longevity, and FICA, and that kind of stuff.
This is for the contract for the fleet maintenance services.
Okay, so that's, they pay
That's
their own
everything.
people, and
They
that's
take care
it.
of all their, yes.
Okay, and right below that, in section 42, account 42, I'm sorry, emergency overtime for the fleet contract. Wouldn't that come under their contract?
That used to be budgeted under there, it was requested that be in this other account, so we have that broken out and put into that account for it.
Okay, all right, thanks. Page 43, building maintenance. You have four under under temporary wages, you have 4 permanent part-time employees scheduled. When are they gonna work and what are they gonna do roughly?
Those are your permanent, part-time custodials that assist.
Okay, answers the question. Okay, and under premium pay for 06, under number 3, overtime, part-time, call-outs.
We budget for what they're allowed, the 25. What happens is, sometimes if we have other issues, or if somebody else is off sick, or other people that are on vacation, we need to still complete the services, we have to have extra hours for them.
Okay, fair enough. Page 44. Count 30, the bottom of the page, machine rentals. There's a $15 increase from last year. Is that because you're seeing just general increase in?
Well, for the rentals, that also includes when we need to get a crane in to lift up these units that are going on top of Central, that are going on top of the Bridgeworks building, so.
So that's what that would be for?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, then down on 45, under 42, the roof repairs, is that for the Central Fire Station that you were talking about?
That is there, probably enough funding for some repairs, smaller repairs to roofs. That's not actual full replacements. That's if we have issues in certain areas of them, that we can take care of patching them and take care of that until we can fund them under capital project.
Okay. All right, then in page 49, street maintenance. Again, under permanent or temporary wages, I'm sorry, you have 3 winter helpers. What do they actually do?
Well, those are part-time employees that assist them with the snow plowing activities,
Okay,
but they also do crack sealing, different, whatever the work is going on for that time. I mean, I can say we're having some issues actually hiring the part-times with that, because it's 80% of the full-time pay, and they have to have a CDL license, so we are having some issues with hiring them.
okay. And then on page 50, under count 30 rentals, I see there's another $10,000 budgeted. Is that for, as an instance, when we have a major snowstorm, you have to get extra dump trucks?
That's for if we have construction going on during the summer and our dozer is down and we're doing a construction project. That is also then if we need assistance in the wintertime. It's pretty much a catch-all, and one way or another, we're either gonna be down some equipment for construction or we're gonna need it for winter.
Okay. Page 51 right below, under, not sure what account number, but number 4 and number 5, right at the top there, paving tech training and snow and ice control trainings. What kind of training is that?
So for the paving operators, obviously, we like to keep them up on the fact of different techniques. We do a lot of paving throughout the city, so we want to make sure that they're trained. It would be great if the same person would be in that job for 10 years. But like anything else, you know, they want to move up as anybody else. So we need to make sure that we keep whoever is going in that position trained fully. And as far as the snow and ice control training, we try to work with LTAP anytime we can. So there's, we actually did have snow training, I believe it was November 13th, a couple days before the storm. So there's items that we need to pay for, like flyers, different things like that. So, but we try to do it as inexpensive as possible.
Okay. And page 51 right below, under account 46, AccuWeather rain, high wind snow service, $3,500.
I actually don't like paying that, but, cause our storm started out as a trace to an inch, and it ended up 6 to 10, and we got 8.1, but it's something, we need to have a professional service out there to, actually give us their best guess.
I have a GoPro.
And one day when I retire, I'll do that job.
I mean, you usually watch the Euro and everything else, you're usually pretty right on yourself, so.
We do, and it really comes down to the fact of the legal end of it. You know, we can have somebody from the city do it. When something happens and it goes awry, and we don't have the right amount of people, or if something happens, or there's a death, or something that goes along, we protect ourselves by having that service.
Okay, page 54, under, I'm gonna assume temporary wages, the very first one, maintenance worker, 1 permanent part-time. I guess we'll talk about that later on in the budget, whether or not we hire those or any additional people. Page 59, under traffic planning, yes. Under account 72, UPS for new cabinets, $5,000.
That's basically a setup, so this way if the power would actually go out on the unit, we would actually add power to the unit. So if we lose power, say over on Lehigh Street, and we have that set up in there, while the power would be out, we would still have a traffic signal that would operate.
Okay, so it's not UPS as in the term of shipping.
We're not shipping
No.
anything.
Uninterrupted power supply.
Yeah.
What was it?
Uninterrupted power supply.
Okay, all right. Okay, so
They come
let's
in
go all the
handy.
way down to page 66 under streets. And right at the top there, the decorative and ornamental, I guess pedestrian poles? Is that
Yes.
what it is? $50,000, is that those teardrops you were talking about?
Those are not the teardrops there.
Okay.
No. Those are for, we have, it's great that we're putting all the new infrastructure downtown, but we have to also remember that there's a lot of different places in the city of Allentown where there are lighting, obviously out there, and the systems are old. We're replacing the poles as we can. So this is the fact of, the systems have been out there for 30 years, and we just have to slowly work on replacing it. We don't want to go to the point where we're putting all our eggs in one basket. We want to be able to share the wealth with everything.
Okay. All right, if we can go to solid waste, and that would start on page 209. Yes, everything's in the detail book, I'm sorry. And if we can just go to 211, just one real quick thing, the easy passes. That's for, I'm assuming, transporting waste?
That's for transporting the paper to where we actually take it.
Okay, all right, and then 212 would be, here's the one, yeah, under the very first one, the Crime Watch dinner, $100. Are we donating $100 to them, or what's that for?
That's not donating, that's actually, so this way we can send some people from the recycling department there and funding for it.
Okay, all right, and then page 2, and by the way, this is a very large area, you got food programs, street cleaning, animal control, so there's a lot of different things in this particular area. Page 213, again, that new uniforms is, again, pending, so let's not worry about that at this point. 214, okay, I'm gonna ask that question a little bit later for the truck. On the same page, 214, under account 76, construction contracts.
Okay.
Are we building a new pole building?
We're taking a look to see what is gonna be in the best interest. We have a drop-off center that's on Martin Luther King by 15th Street. There's some upgrades that we need to do to it. We're looking whether or not we want to, again, stay there, or if we want to move to 24th Street. Either way, wherever place we end up with, we're gonna need a pole building for some of the other activities that are going on with the department. So we just wanted to make sure that we put that in there, so this way, in a line item, so you can see it. It's not in a capital book somewhere where it's not being able to see.
Okay, then page 217, under recycling, solid waste, I'm gonna assume the 46 account of the contract services, $50,000 for high grass, weeds, vegetation. Are we not using the summer employees to do that?
That's for the sweep program, so this way, when we get calls about high grass and weeds at the properties, there's contractors that we have multiple. So this way, as the issues come in, that funding is there to pay for their work. In turn, then, the property owner is buying that amount, so that way it's returned back to the city. So it's pretty much, this is money there to pay the contractors to go there to cut it, and then we get it reimbursed back in.
Okay. And then, under 217, account 72 equipment, asking for a compact sedan. Are there not any other vehicles available in the fleet that we cannot use? One?
No, there isn't. Actually, we put our 4th sweep officer in 2018, so we need a vehicle for it. We have been trying to utilize another vehicle. It's run into some problems with it, but it would be best if we'd had a vehicle for that officer.
Okay. Page 219, at the bottom, account 44, repair and maintenance supplies, $30,000 for miscellaneous maintenance materials. What would that be for? Page 219 at the very bottom, last one.
Oh, that's material money for the improvements that we would be doing either down at MLK or up at 24th Street. That's paving materials for the work that would be done.
Okay, and then stormwater, which starts at page 225. Question on page 227 at the bottom. Actually, it might be, yeah, it should be. Account 44, legal services. Wasn't that part of that consulting? that you mentioned earlier?
That was for the water and sewer, and
Yes.
this is for the stormwater. Currently, we have some litigation with the Northampton Airport Authority.
Okay, gotcha. 228. Page 228 at the bottom, count 44, I'm sorry, 54. Repair and maintenance supplies, can you, 45,000 for flow, fill, and contract, can you explain what that's for?
That's for sinkholes, if we run into sinkholes, and that's also for concrete that's necessary when we're rebuilding the inlets and any curbing that needs to be put in around them. So that's pretty much for daily operations for the stormwater.
Okay. And page 230, count 72 equipment. Number 5, a TV truck and camera, $275,000. And then at number 7, an SUV for another $35,000.
Yes, the 275,000, that's for another camera, so that way we can have 2 crews actually going and TVing our stormwater lines. The reason we'd like to go with the heavier duty truck, this is the first year that we've had a lining project. And along with the lining project, the fact that all the different pipes that are going in there, there's areas that need to be cut out. It ends up to be a little over $1,000 every spot that the contractor has to go in there and cut out for the other utilities. So what our plan is while we're getting this truck, it's a little bit more than the normal van that we get. Over the years, we're gonna be able to do that work with this truck and not have the contractor do it. So it's work with, if there's 50 of them in one year, that's 50,000 right there that we're not paying. The next year, if there's 50 again, that's another 50. So this is something that'll be around for 10 to 15 years. It'll actually, in the long run, save us money.
In a sense, it's gonna probably pay itself off.
It will.
Okay, all right. All right, then just a couple more quick questions. I saw in the budget there, you had 3 pieces of equipment listed, a single axle truck for streets, a 5-ton truck for streets, and then the platform truck for traffic engineering. All 3 of those totaled about $300,000.
Yes.
So I guess I'm gonna refer back to the $245,000. That's gonna pretty much whitewash that. Okay, so I'm okay with that. Now, as far as any capital projects that you have remaining for 2018, is there any money left to complete those? Are they gonna be completed? Or are they gonna be carried forward to 2018?
Any projects that are currently being worked on, they're fully funded. There's not any request for any more for funding for any of the projects that we have going on currently.
Okay, and of course, it's almost Christmas time. If you had to pick, but you can get back to us on this, if you can give us your top 3 things that you would be the most interested in from this budget. And you can get back, or if you have that answer now, that's fine.
Well, when it comes to it, I can tell you that in some departments, I'm short. We have a traffic department that has signal techs. So currently, we have a little over 200 intersections where we have traffic lights. One signal tech per chapter 109, it says 1 signal tech for every 34 intersections. We should have 6, and that cuts it close.
And how many you have now, I'm sorry?
We have 4.
4.
Those same signal techs are also people that do all the street lighting work, which for over 8,000 lights, we should have 2. So currently, we have 4, which they're doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. They are meeting our minimum needs. But if I had to say, if I had a department that needed some help, it would be the traffic department.
Okay,
And really, I only like to ask for 1 gift, so I think we're.
all right, that's fair enough.
I can defer if somebody else wants to.
That's okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Messinger. You've answered all the questions that I had. Any of my colleagues have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start with Julio.
Start with him. I'm always starting, so I want to give him.
Okay, let's start with
Okay.
Julio.
Okay.
All right, Candida, go ahead.
I'm
Okay.
not as fast. I mean, just be quick. I'm interested in the street lighting, the LED lights and so on and so forth. And, on 7th Street, are they gonna be the LED lights plus the teardrop?
Yes. Yes, they're all, along with our phase one, all of the teardrops will be changing to LED, and then also the pedestrian lighting that are gonna be on the side are gonna be LED also.
All right, now, when we discussed this a while ago about this LED, the price of the electric, we thought was gonna go down, correct? And here we see that, was this 555,000 last year, went down to 525, is that correct? Okay, just checking to make sure I got this right, too, so, what you told me is actually true, right? Look at those lights. There was something here I was going to ask you. Oh, the LED lights, I got all that, all right. Now, this is phase one. That's not been completed yet?
Phase one is, the contract is with the solicitor's office right now. So as soon as that gets signed, they'll be going in. We have all the lighting already.
To go into phase two, or just?
We have all the lighting for phase one. But we do have funding in our lighting account to start with phase two. So very soon we'll be finishing up the design work on it and then ordering those lights and then going through. My biggest thing is I want to see how the first phase goes, be able to see whether or not it's something that we could maybe look at adding somebody and maybe saving some money and doing it in-house. Maybe helping out with the situation where we have, where we're short, maybe we can save some money by having an employee instead, or two.
Do you think phase two will start in 2019?
We have to, but we're gonna take a look at, I'm gonna take a look at the cost and see how it works out. Some things are less expensive contracting, some things are less expensive doing it in-house. I wanna see where we are first after that. I obviously would have to have the administration approval with it, but if I can show that there's a cost savings, maybe we can get a couple employees and maybe we can take care of it in-house and have it done that way, and have it for everything else also.
Also with the curbs and sidewalks, this project started last year, the curb and sidewalk?
Well, the 18 project is going on now, yes.
How many are done? Do you know how many are finished?
Right now, they have some large projects to do. They're probably about halfway done with what they need to do. Normally, the projects, they move from one year to the next. So, yeah, we finished off some of the 17, started 18. They're working through the winter as long as the weather is good. We start paving those in the spring, 19 starts. So it's sort of like something that really just goes from year to year.
All right, that's basically all I have. And I just want to thank you, Mr. Messenger, and your staff, doing a hell of a job in this city.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, the rest of the week.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you, Ms. Appa. Mr. Hendricks?
Thank you, Chairman. On the large budget book, page 72, line 42, repairs and maintenance. There's a large jump in that amount. Can you explain what that's for? We've gone from roughly 100,000 the last 3 years, or last year, to 278,000.
This is, a lot of the items that we have this year based on the new definitions that went into the budget book were moved, you'll see a lot of our items moved from the 46 account into the 42 account.
If you see the 46 account, the 46 account is down 300,000. So it's the fact of taking the items and what accounts they were being purchased off to and aligning them to make it so this way the controller and everybody has it in the same area. Okay, yes, and we put it this way, we thank Mr. Glazier for actually doing that, so this way every department is doing it in the same manner and fashion.
The same page, same book, line 62. And this I see throughout, big increase in fuels, oils, and lubricants. I'm just curious, is that based on what you anticipate the price of fuel to be?
Exactly. The fuel went up about $60,000 in the request that we have for it for next year. It's not dramatic. In the general fund, it went from 800 to 860. But
Yes, what I'm seeing now, I mean, and not, this is probably a month ago you put this in, we're actually hitting a glut where it's actually hitting a low.
Well, I can tell you, we just looked over it, I believe we budgeted 205 and 220 from last year, and our averages came in at 205 and like 224. So we were pretty much right on with what our fuel was from the last year. And we actually track every last one that we get. We have information back 20 years. So we see certain patterns on where they go. We pretty much this year went to like 220 to 235. Now, diesel is up a little bit more than what the projection is right now. Unleaded's down a little bit from what the projection is right now, but I still feel pretty firm with what numbers and the background and the information we have.
Okay, so you've allowed yourself kind of a cushion.
Yes.
Okay. Page 84, you have the large. Line 68, again, operating materials and supplies, is this again?
It's just realigning the budgets as far as to make sure that they're in line.
That's something I'm seeing throughout there too.
You're gonna see it in every one of our budgets.
All right. And page 86, number 72, line 72. Equipment, again, that would be another,
That 35,000 that's in there is basically, we put in new fuel pumps this year. This is for an emergency generator for those fuel pumps, so this way when power is down, we can still have our fuel pumps.
okay, and that's something we didn't have up till this time?
We had it in a different manner. Now we have a standalone pump site. If you go over to 1825 Rams Road or go to 1733 Vultee, the same area. If you see in the back, we actually have above ground tanks now. We got rid of the old underground tanks. So we have a whole new fuel system. This here will make sure that the 20 years that we at least have that system, will keep it powered up in times when we don't have electric. It's separate from the total building. It's a standalone system.
Okay, thank you. Page 90, is on the large building. Line 42, and I guess that would be the same thing, repairs and maintenance,
Yes.
same thing, Nick, we can jump on that, I've seen that throughout.
Yeah, if you look right up to 42, then you'll see the $157,000 difference.
Okay. Go to page 103. Here's a large jump, and then if you just explain that, and here again, I guess this is with the advent of where we're gonna be losing all our communication center people.
This is technical services. This is not the comm center. This is where the employees are in there, so this way we can take care of the cameras ourselves, and then bring all of the work on the police cars back in-house. These are the employees that are gonna take care of it.
Telecom workers?
Tech services.
Tech service workers.
Yep.
So part of this is also, it was split into two programs, program 2 and program 3 was telephones. Program 3 is going away, so the original employees, there were 2 telecom technicians, and then we're putting in 2 additional for 19.
Okay,
So it's a small increase, combining the 2 accounts, and then adding the 2 additional employees on top.
okay, thank you. And one other on page 363 on the solid waste fund. Line 76.
That's the $100,000 we put in there for the upgrades either to MLK or to 24th Street when we decide where we want to have the recycling center. So that's for the building that we'll need, depending where we actually put it. And we wanna look and weigh our options first.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's the only questions I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Councilman Grady?
I'm gonna, just doing a real good job, and you guys you did a wonderful job asking questions that I had, and you did some questions, especially in the oil and fuel. Although I thought that, according to our president, oil is supposed to go down if we keep supporting Saudi Arabia, but that's a different issue.
You might want to check with that.
But I may have another question in regards to liquid fuel, and still looking at it to make sure I understand it. Sure.
Councilman Robinson?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, Mr. Messinger, I just want to say thank you. I think that of all the different budgets we've gone through so far, I think we actually have the least amount of questions for you because everything's pretty straightforward and clear cut. And I just want to say thank you to you, to your staff, and especially to Cassie for putting that all together. So,
You all know.
I have one question in the detail book and then a couple questions from your presentation. Pages 38 and 39 in the detail book. So in account 46 and in account 68, we're looking at the PA one call system activity fee. And I'm just curious, because I know you said there was a mistake on these, if we figured out which one was correct.
46 is coming out.
46 is coming out, so then the 13,000 is the correct fee for that.
Yes.
Fantastic, thank you very much. On your presentation, just pull this up here, I made notes as you went along. So in the engineering section, with the street trees that we are planting, do we have an idea of how many of them are surviving their plantings, potentially need to be replaced? Or are we replacing them if they die?
Well, as we're replacing them, first of all, they have to be pretty much planted for 2 years before we can go back
Okay.
and do any pruning to them.
Got it.
I'm gonna say the majority of all the trees that we put in are still alive. We actually put the bags, so this way we can continually water them. It's been a great process. Actually, it's not just Public Works doing the work with that. Parks has been a big part of it too, to assist with cutting trees down and assisting with the planting. No, I think the process is going well. You're gonna see that some of the trees we planted a couple of years ago, we're gonna go back and we have to start trimming them up a little bit. There are some areas where, there might be a couple leaves or whatever, small leaves that were dead, but
Right.
as we prune them and take care of them, I think the majority of all of them are doing fine. And if any of them would die, yes, we would replace them.
Okay, and then, I know you said we come back and do the initial pruning. Once they're sort of on their way, is that then the property owner's responsibility to take care of this?
Yes, it is.
Are we, educating the property owners when their trees are getting replaced to that effect?
I can tell you, our tree inspector is out there talking with everybody.
Excellent. Now, and I appreciate the work you guys are doing because, I don't remember what the exact number was, but I know we were a couple thousand trees below what we were even just 15 years ago.
We were probably about almost 5,000.
Yeah, so it's fantastic, thank you. For me, this is a very important project, so I appreciate it. With the pedestrian lighting on 7th Street, do you have an idea of roughly how long the installation is gonna take from when you start in the spring?
I would imagine that process would probably be about 2 months.
Okay, so as long as everything goes according to plan.
As everything goes according.
We're looking sometime in the summer, we should have that project, complete, early summer.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, when we get to the point, it's light till 10 o'clock.
Well, so on building maintenance, when you're talking about developing a sidewalk maintenance program for city-owned properties, so how would we, when that maintenance would need to be conducted? How would we account for that and who would be responsible for it?
Well, we're going around reviewing it. Currently, we've noticed some areas, and we've actually, again, worked with Parks on it. On Tillman Street, there was, out there by College Heights Boulevard, there's a monument out there.
Yep.
We had some issues out there, so they went out, they excavated, formed it, we went out there, reported, we did the work. It's stuff we try to, right now, I'm gonna tell you, we try to find it in our budget somewhere, so this way, we can just get it done as it comes through. Obviously, we tried to keep our budget as tight as possible. Hopefully next year, if everything goes well this year, maybe we can start putting maybe 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever in for some of the concrete, to do it, but it's stuff that we try to do in-house as much as we can.
Okay, so this is what you're looking at right now, is basically doing like an audit of it to determine where there might be additional properties that need immediate work.
Yes,
And then also ones that might need it in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years type.
yes.
Fantastic, thank you. Streets department, oh no, sorry, that was just a note of what you put down there. So traffic planning and control. Phase one, I think when Councilwoman Off asked your questions, she might have answered mine, but I just want to clarify. The phase one, are we looking at a geographical area or all of the overhead streetlights is phase one?
We're looking at the overhead, the Cobra heads that are
Right.
out there right now, the high pressure sodium, from the Jordan River up to 12th Street,
Okay,
from Martin Luther King to Tillman is the first phase.
then what would phase two be, since we're in
Phase
this?
2, I believe, is going out, we're looking at it possibly going out to 17th Street,
Okay,
and then taking it hopefully to the city line then also,
okay,
north,
north,
from
right,
MLK.
okay, great. And I just have to ask this question because my neighbors will kill me if I don't. The 15th Street traffic signal improvements, do we have a timeline on that?
Well,
I have one neighbor in particular who keeps tripping over the new, moorings for the street light every time he walks to his car.
I
in
can
the
tell you
morning,
the
so-
contractor for the state is out there trying to make sure it gets paved this year. Has to be 40 and rising. So, they're not gonna be out there probably the next couple of days. But, even if it's next Sunday when it's 50,
Right.
if it's fine, they're gonna be out and paving. They have to get that paved. That said, the traffic poles, they, some of them take up to 26 weeks, 30 weeks sometimes to actually get them. So you're gonna look probably more a little bit towards the spring until all the new traffic poles are put up.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. With technical services, so, I know Councilman Zuppel had asked the question about the fire station alerting equipment. And I know from my time when I was a clerk with EMS at Central, you could barely understand them back then, 10 years ago. Is another issue, are we having any potential issues getting parts since the systems are that old?
I'm gonna say some, but I can tell you that the guys are there very resourceful. They held the radio system together probably for about 5 years.
Yeah.
That it should have been replaced 5 years ago. So they held it together, and I can tell you, it was literally falling apart as the new system was going in.
Yeah.
So they really did a great job getting it done.
Excellent. With looking at maintaining the surveillance cameras, I think this is fantastic. I think that this is a contract we should have brought in-house a while ago. So I think this is a really good idea. Can you talk a little bit more about exactly the type of maintenance work that you're going to do? Because my assumption is what you're referring to is simply maintenance of the physical setup of the cameras themselves, not the IT component of it, correct?
Correct, but understand that some of them are connected by cables, some of them are
Wi-Fi.
connected by, the radios. And,
Right.
So right now, there's some hodgepodge that's going on, so it's gonna be a little difficult in the beginning. But we really wanna get it to a point where we actually have, I feel, a true system out there.
Well, I think that's a great idea, and I'm really happy that you put that in this budget, because I think it's important. With recycling and solid waste, I just want to say the Earth Day event was fantastic. I attended it. I'm looking forward to the next one. It was really great. I know a lot of the kids had fun climbing over and playing with the trucks, so I think that was a great component to that for that. And I said this to you the other day, the only complaint that I am getting about anything with recycling and solid waste is just can we add more times or days for electronic recycling? So, because I know we're having an issue with scheduling appointments
I
right
think
now.
if you look at the presentation, it states in there improving and adding.
Oh,
hours.
absolutely. Oh, I know, I just felt, wanted to reiterate it.
It's something that really, you have to dial it in a little bit, because along with what we did, our guys aren't having issues with their backs, our guys aren't having issues.
Oh, absolutely.
So understand that, some of the stuff was also to protect some of the employees.
Oh, no, but I
Make sure
think,
that we didn't have any issues, but we are gonna move forward with that. I don't know if Ann knows that yet, but we are.
no, and we needed to do something, and I think what was done was appropriate, and I think we just had some growing pains this year, but the people that I have spoken with who have utilized it and dropped electronics off have said once they were able to make their appointment, it was so much easier than it used to be. So it's just a matter of trying to get some more times for that. Another thing I just wanted to talk about is if we could look at potentially, as part of our education program with recycling and solid waste, try to reach out to some of the smaller store owners, especially in downtown, about recycling plastic bags. Because I know, especially with our downtown population, a lot of times these are people who don't have access to recyclable or reusable grocery bags. Sometimes they're even using some of these bags for trash bags. So I don't think getting rid of them would be in the city's best interest, not to mention we can't from state law. But I think maybe looking at trying to educate some of the smaller store owners on recycling techniques, if possible, might help in adding some more. Because I think, to my knowledge, the closest, I don't know if Little Apple or Seatown have one, but to my knowledge, the closest recycling center to downtown is Wawa at 15th. So if we could look at maybe doing that, I think that might help with the problems we see downtown.
We will do that.
Excellent. And my last question is with stormwater, we obviously all saw the Morning Call's article about the issue with the stormwater at the golf course. And are you looking to put a system in place to better educate city departments as to what they need to do when it comes to permitting and going through your department, and specifically stormwater fund, to make sure we don't have that problem again?
That is all part of our latest contract with Woods, so yes.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for a great presentation and also a really well put together budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Robinson. Councilman Green?
Thank you. Just want to, most of the questions I said were already asked, but I do have just a few quick questions, and they're not too difficult. But if you look at your liquid fuel, which is the one I told you about earlier, I thought somebody might ask it, somebody want to ask me. And your total spending revenue is a little bit over 3 million, but your total expenditure is a little bit over 4 million. Can you just give me what's going on there?
Well, at this point in time, we have a very healthy fund that is set aside for it. It's something that's capable and has been able to withstand the expenses that we've put through it over the years. Obviously, we added an extra $100,000 in there for materials. Along with the uptick a little bit, we're figuring for fuel. There should probably follow them with a little uptick in the asphalt price. So that's why we put a little bit more money in for that. Yes, it is more expenses than what we have coming in. We're projecting that we're gonna get another increase then again next year. But what we've been able to save in this fund, I think it's something that we can put forward now to assist and try to keep what we're doing in the general fund as small as possible.
Okay, thank you. And then just a question that were not asked, than what I had here in the presentation. And that is on the, one is on the street maintenance side. You said you would do about 4 miles of streets. Do you have an idea of what streets you're gonna do this year?
Well, for actual paving, we do 7 miles. For when it comes to the maintenance, for that 300,000, we get about 4 miles worth of maintenance. Then we do about 3 miles of spraying, and then we do 2 miles of crack seal. So there's all different processes that go through with it. But the list, I guess, is being finalized now for the streets for next year, and we're gonna be putting that on our website. And we'll also be trying to give out letters a little bit earlier to the residents, so this way they understand it's coming. So we want to try to get out ahead of it a little bit earlier than we normally do.
Thank you. And I think you said that there were some grants available, I think $100,000.
Microphone.
Sorry, I think you said that you have about $100,000. Was that for the street lights or for something else?
Well, we were doing cost sharing with UGI. So the asphalt materials that were laid on Walnut Street from 15th to 10th cost about $100,000. UGI paid for that $100,000 for the materials. And then also gave us $100,000 towards the handicap ramps. That was the city's responsibility to do.
Okay, that's great, because the two ones that I got more calls about were specifically Walnut Street and Linden Street primarily.
We normally don't do 5 blocks at a time, but we were capable of getting the funding through this project. So it takes a little bit longer. Obviously, UGI had to be in there. Any other maintenance work had to be done. Then we get in to do the curbing and the sidewalk, and then we finally get in to do the road work. So it was a very large project. I think it turned out great, and being able to get $200,000 from the utility company to help us pay for it was even better.
The last question was in regards to, thank you, by the way. The last question was in regards to the single stream versus the dual stream.
Yes.
And what I hear is, I heard all the time say that it's not really working as well, and doing the single stream.
What the issue is now is what China did was they came along and said they're not gonna take any material that has any of that residual waste in a ungodly amount, small amount. It's not even something that's capable of really necessarily being done for the market. So that changed what the market is going on. I can tell you that all of the people, even if we would actually do everything separate, when it gets to the people at these areas, they are gonna combine it all together and put it through their systems. They don't handle things separate anymore. They handle single stream. So we could pay the extra $600,000 a year to keep it separated and get picked up that way, but they're gonna put it all together when they get to the site anyways. So right now, single stream is still the way that I feel is the best and most cost-effective way of doing the recycling for the city.
Well, yes, it's, as you remember, I was against it at the beginning.
Yes, I understand.
We have a 3-year contract, we're in the second year now, right? But next year, it's gonna be the second year.
Right.
And, I just monitoring it because I keep hearing that it's not really going very well.
I'm willing to talk with you anytime about it.
All right, that was it. Thank you very much. Thank you all your staff as well. Working hard, and you know, the greatest thing is when people call me about a pothole somewhere, you guys come over and fix it right away. The other issue is street lighting. Sometimes the light bulbs.
You're out there pretty quick though.
You have. You know, I got about, I think 3 or 4 calls in the last 2 months that you guys to trash in the area and you pick them up right away. And it's excellent. So great, thank you. You're doing a wonderful job. The budget expenditure, keep it down.
Well, one thing to point out, when you take the personnel costs out of it, we're only 1.2% higher than we were the previous year.
I noticed that. That's why I didn't want to bother you too much. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Green. Councilman Moda?
I agree with you, Mr. Barigi. They come out right away and they are doing a great job. I just have two question. Tell me briefly about your graffiti removal program. How are you guys doing with that?
We're actually doing pretty good. Obviously, when we get into the winter months, it gets a little bit more difficult because of the colder temperatures. But we're out any day that we're over freezing with it, so this way we're not causing any hazard with it. But the guys are really keeping up on the issues of what we have.
How many
And they're
phone calls do
very
you-
aggressive to work with the police department also. So this way, if there's anything that leads to any gang issues or any other issues in that area, they work with them very aggressively.
So you receive a few phone calls then?
Yes.
Okay. What about your animal license renewal program? How is that going?
Oh, it's
You
going
getting more
fine.
phone calls?
We're gonna, as in our presentation, we said we're gonna try to get a little bit more aggressive with that. Obviously, the more that we have licensed, the more we know that are out there, the more we can actually track that animal. If there is an issue, it's a benefit to everybody. So, we were getting pretty aggressive. They were coming around saying that they were gonna be finding people, they were gonna be going door to door and doing all that. That helped us out a little bit too, but the program's going well.
Okay. And another thing, the issue that we had on Fifth and Gordon, as soon as you guys came out and you put paint on that restaurant, there hasn't been anyone falling.
Right.
And it's just amazing, you know, how a little paint.
Looks like was the situation out there. We put that in requirement now as the
And
community.
can you tell the audience what was the situation very briefly?
We actually had a person that sits up there on the dais.
That was me.
Exit the establishment at Fifth and Gordon and do a little bit of a tumble. Thank God she was okay. But the issue was brought to us, and I can tell you that every handicap ramp that goes in meets all the federal standards. However, it's a little bit different now where they actually designate a walkway. So they actually have areas where there's cheek walls, lips, different things hanging up that are potential tripping hazards. So along with that, when we met and we went through that, I can tell you the new contract that's going out for next year, there's handrails and painting that is also required if there's any situations like that.
And keeping in mind that I wasn't the only one that was falling, so many people fell in that particular area, you know, and a lot of lawsuits, believe it or not. And, but you guys went out, you know, and with a little bit of paint, it resolved the issue. Thank you.
Yours was after some tequila, I think.
Don't say that. But it's your fault, you got me drinking that. Yeah, I'm done, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Moore. President McLean, you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Mr. Glazer, sir, it's yours.
I hate to disappoint you.
Okay.
Two things, though. You know, the report that came out in July that highlighted a lot of issues in terms of the way we budget. I have to applaud Public Works, Solid Waste, all those folks, because they read it, they took it to heart, and they made changes. So like when Councilman Hendricks saw the big jump in 42, it's because those were service and maintenance contracts that should have been there, but had been budgeted as other kinds of contracts. And it's important that all the city departments bill the same way or budget the same way, so that an expense 42 in one department is the same as an expense 42 in another department, and that leads to better decision-making for all of us. And the second reason that Craig got let off the hook is that I decided I would start working on public safety today. So I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Glazer, Mayor, any comments, sir?
No, sir, the meeting was simple.
Thank you.
Right to the point.
The public?
If I could just interrupt, I think Mr. Glazer's afraid the street won't get plowed in the next snowstorm.
That's okay. Anyone from the public?
We'll get plowed.
Thank you, Richard.
Craig made a good presentation, but I, as a taxpayer, Allentown, is looking forward to the mayor's budget where he's gonna nail me for 2.5 mil tax increase. And council has to look how to reduce it. And one of the things, questions I raised with Mr. Messenger and never got a response, is the solid waste fund that is subsidizing the parking authority. And I'm asking city council and the mayor to look into why we subsidize the parking authority with our street sweeping fees. You know, they ticket us 12 months out of the year for street sweeping. And we only get revenue 3 months out of the year. That means the other 9 months they keep all the fines. And why we cannot get some of that fine money? Why should our taxpayers subsidize the parking authority when I think the executive director is the highest paid executive director of the Allentown Parking Authority, the highest paid official in the city of Allentown, parties in government. That means we taxpayers have to subsidize the parking authority, and I'm asking you to look into why we subsidize the parking authority with our fines. I have been raising this question for a couple of years and nobody answered. So I put a right to know request in, and that's the information I got. And maybe the mayor can answer why we subsidize the parking authority with our fines.
Mr. Messinger?
Street sweeping fines.
Mr. Messinger or Mayor, would you like to address that?
Well, I just want to point out one thing. You left on your message, you were gonna be gone by 11:30. I didn't get your message till
The
12.
message was correct. It's fine. They keep the fines for 9 months out of the year. They only skip. And the 3 months they give us money for the fines, most of the times their costs exceed our costs, and we get very little back out of those 3 months of the fines. And I don't think it's right, because we gotta buy a street sweeper, we gotta put the employees on the street sweeper, we gotta buy the benefits for the street sweeper employees, we gotta put the repairs for the street sweeper, we gotta put the gas in the street sweeper, we have to put trucks out there to take the debris off the street sweeper, out of the street sweeper. There was a big cost there. And if I can get the parking authority keeps most of the money, and this is not fair to the taxpayers, and I don't know how we're doing this. So I'm asking city council and the mayor to stop this. I mean, we can't continue to subsidize the parking authority.
I agree with you.
Well, I mean, the mayor, I've been writing information, to you and this, and council, but nobody ever answered it.
Well,
And
I can tell you that the reason it started with the winter was when we went to year-round street cleaning, and I was part of that, so this way at least we would get some revenues by doing the year-round street cleaning. I agree we should get more.
We should get it all.
I don't know.
No, wait, you know what, you look at the administrative cost, take an administrative cost. 1 year they charge us $5 for administrative cost, the next year they charge us $10, they change it all the time, their costs are always different. The taxpayers always don't know for the balance, I mean, this isn't fair. So, I think when that's happening, we have to look into this, Mr. Chairman. Maybe give me 10 more seconds, there's one question that you guys overlooked in the budget, and detailed budget, is in one of the bureaus here spends $30,000, let me see, building maintenance spends $30,000 for copy paper. That's about 10 cases of paper a week. Why did he do like 10 cases of paper a week?
That's for copy paper for the entire city.
The city?
Don't they have it in downstairs in the supply room?
It's budgeted out of the one account though. All the copy paper is out of that budget.
And then it's the wrong program, you know?
But it's all budgeted out of that account.
Now, the way I look at it, Craig, you look in building maintenance. That's the only cost I see when it comes to downstairs when you do the printing and everything else. The only thing I see under there is copier paper and building maintenance. Anything else is under another. I don't have that with me, but I'll send it to you. And I think they have copier paper under that program also. I think you have copier paper.
If you can find out where I would.
No, I will, I have it with me.
But all the copy paper is supposed to be out of that. You gotta give me a break if you give me
Okay. And one other thing, give me 5 more seconds. The mayor and the council president were going to council legislation to exempt disabled veterans from the rainwater fee. That has never happened. These poor veterans, you know, they're on fixed income. And you're asking them to pay the rainwater fee. You know, they're exempt from the LST fee, local service tax fee. Disabled veterans. And I don't know why you can't also exempt them from the rainwater fee. I mean, these poor guys are on fixed income, and you guys promised to exempt them, and nothing has happened. These poor guys are still paying. I hope this board pass the next fee for stormwater to exempt these guys. Thank you.
Mr. Hirschman, it's my understanding that the solicitor's office already has that paperwork and is reviewing it? Okay?
I wasn't a veteran, I'm not disabled.
Okay.
Get free stuff.
Go ahead, Mr. South Allen. Let's start off with the solid waste fund. I noticed in the budget, they don't wanna pay the $643,000 in that so-called verbal loan that they took out of the 4.5 million. And basically, you shouldn't be doing this. I mean, we know why you're doing it, but you made a commitment, verbal commitment, it's just like a bank loan to us. I mean, if you make a verbal commitment, or you don't wanna recognize that, then you do that, take it out. But you should put it back. Give us the money back in the solid waste fund for the garbage collection fees. That's the way I look at it, and I think you should look at it the same way. You shouldn't be defaulting on that loan. That's what I look at. You're defaulting. The stormwater fund, well, let me back up. There's other things in the solid waste, but how comes we're charging, we didn't go over this before, $1 million for general city charges? $1 million. We're gonna add that up sometime. Why do we need $1 million on general city charges? Unbelievable. Solid waste fund. We know why you do it, but you tell me where the breakdown is. And I want to go then into, maybe I'm going to run out of time, but into the street fund. So, the capital projects. How many capital projects are you going to do this year? I mean, out of the real capital program, the 5-year capital program, or the active capital projects you have? I mean, you talked about buying, you bought poles already for the LED lights, but tell me how many capital projects that you're gonna try to keep active. Do you have a number of that, right?
I have a long list of capital projects, but the only ones that are gonna be continued are the ones that are fully funded, that the funds came through with the short-term loan.
Okay, let's drill down on the, what we call fully funded. Are these funds that are encumbered money? Is that what you're telling me? I wouldn't know where you're gonna get the money from, that's what I'm trying to say.
Members, I will respond to that. The capital projects fund includes $1,273,500 in what are going to be new authorizations for capital projects this year. All of those are actually being paid as you go out of the general fund for this year. You can find those in the general and civic budget under capital fund contributions in account 84. With respect to existing projects that are underway, the reason those would not have appeared in the budget this day is because they already would have been authorized in a previous budget. And so if there are capital projects going back 1, 2, 3, 4 years that were authorized, only those projects are the ones for which any funds that have already been committed would be utilized for.
Here's the problem. I did an analysis on the capital projects. You only have $3.2 million encumbered for all these capital projects, every one. And what is in the non-pooled accounts? Add that up. You might be within $1 million, maybe. And I'm going back to last month, information, September 30th. Go look at the numbers. You effectively have no money for capital projects. Now, you can do it in expenditures, like they have in the budget, 1.6 million. You can do that if you raise the taxes and do everything else. Where are you gonna get this money from? I'm not talking about the projects, basically, what you're gonna spend it for. I just wanna know where you're gonna get this money. Where do you think we're gonna get it? Even if you did the $30 million bond you talked about last month, and you only pulled out 3.5 million out of that, it's not enough. You have to almost defer capital projects for 1 year. You have to almost do that until you get a handle on where this money's coming from. I don't know. I mean, I'm not blaming this administration, because this started a long time ago. But it's here. What Mike Donovan said 5, 6 years ago, when we talked about the water and sewer, this day is coming. Well, it's here. It's here. I think you guys have to cut You have to do some cutting. You're gonna have to. You have to do your due diligence and cut. It's the council's duty to do this. Where? I don't know. I have some ideas, but that's your job.
Just a quick question. May I?
Oh, absolutely.
That's a good point, and I think we're gonna have to come up with some kind of idea of what to do in regards to that. I mean, I did look at, that budget myself, and it looks like there's really no money there.
You're talking about capital projects.
The capital projects that we wanted, that are supposed to be done.
I'll give you all my data within the next week.
If you have any information, like you, yeah.
I do have one comment I would make, and I'm not sure, because I've spoken with Mr. Hunsaker in tremendous detail on this subject over the last few weeks. Believe me, we've been talking about this a lot. Is this dealing with what's showing in the 5-year capital plan specifically, and how it lines up with what is being funded actually in the budget? I'm just asking for clarification.
What was the first part of that?
Is what you're looking at basically what's shown in the 5-year capital improvement plan as opposed to what's actually getting funded for capital purposes? Are you drawing some kind of linkage between the two of them as to where the dollars are intended to go?
What we did, we took the 5-year capital plan, and we took the last reported financial report that, on a monthly basis, that was given from the 30th of September, also from the 30th of March. Looked at all those capital projects, we put them on a spreadsheet, added all that up, and this is what it comes out to be. These are the numbers. They're not my numbers, these are numbers provided by Mr. Hartzell, which is great. I'm working with him on this, and been very cooperative so far. So I mean, what we have to do is work our way through this. But this is a severe condition here. You don't have money for doing this. If anybody wants a copy of this data, I'll be glad to give it to them. But you have to ask me for it, because I promised I would go over this with Mr. Hartzell first and present it to him, let him come up with a solution, work with administration, how you're gonna do this, if you wanna do it. But, so, was there anything else?
Thank you, sir. The only caveat I would make with that is that during the 3 years I've been here, and I need to commend very strongly the planning office staff in community and economic development with whom I work on this, and who really do a tremendous job in organizing the material that's inside of the 5-year capital plan. There was a time not long ago when the 5-year capital plan did not include anything that was aspirational. It was, okay, we're gonna do this much on sidewalks this year, and we're gonna do this much on street repair, and that was gonna be basically it. I was not happy that the capital planning book at that stage was only talking about, well, this is the new funding we're doing this year, and the only things we're gonna report on are the things in which we've got new funding to do. So we've made a lot of changes in that book over the last 3 years, and particularly included in that are what we have asked departments to do is to include in the book, in the 5-year capital book, all of the things that they think they are going to be needing in their professional judgment over the next 5 years. There is a clear realization in probably 80–90% of the cases that the money is not there, that the money is aspiration, that we're probably, I'm not recommending any new bond issues to the mayor for this year or for the 2019 budget, or probably for a year or two afterward. But we wanted to be open about what was in that book to show what departments really felt they were needing to deal with, rather than only putting in the things that we could afford. And so what was intended out of the 5-year plan is, it was a little bit of a different purpose from what the capital budget was, and that is, these are the things our department heads see as being necessary for improvements to make in parks, to make on the roads, bridges, everything of that sort. So yes, it's an aspirational document, but it is intended to be a complete document to indicate from what the departments have said as to what they need. I will go a little further, just briefly, because Mr. Hunsaker had pointed out that he had seen, I think, some inconsistencies between what was showing up as the actual capital budget for the year in the budget book as opposed to the 5-year plan. I acknowledge that. I think we need to get some coherence on that. I am looking into that here between now and the final presentation of, or final consideration of the budget, to be sure we line those up appropriately. But I do want to assure you that what you're seeing in the 5-year plan, no, we realize a lot of that isn't going to get funded, but it is intended as a guidance that the department heads are saying, we need to do these things, and we need to do them in this particular time frame.
I would suggest that we do that, we gotta do that very quickly, first, maybe next week or so.
And it will.
No, and the other thing is, let's take those out of there. I would suggest that we take them out if we're not gonna do them. So why put them in the budget and when we have no money to do?
Yes, we have to keep a 5-year plan. It's where, how do we finance them? That's
So
the
the
thing.
thing, we don't have the money to finance. What I'm saying is keep them there with zero money, and then $0, and just keep it as a.
It has to, we have to work on how you, the city has to work on, I would say, the city has to work on how, what you're gonna try to do next year with what you have available. And I just wanna make sure, I know Greg was saying about, I'm talking about the 5-year plan, but I also, and I thought I made this clear, the listing here is all the active projects, capital projects, all the active capital projects. If you look at some of these numbers, and that's where that 3-point-some million comes from, that's the number that's encumbered. Now, that money, to me, should be someplace. Now, the only place I can find it would be in the non-pooled accounts. Then investments are in there too. If I add up all that, you maybe have 1 million somewhere to play around with something. But I'm gonna work with Mr. Hartzell on this, and there's more to this than this. We gotta go back and look at the grants, state, federal grants, where they were when we started, where we are now, so we have to put a spreadsheet together on that. What do we expect to come in on grant loans? What do we expect? What did we get so far in each one of these projects that we say we're gonna go ahead with?
You know, Mr. Onsica, that's been going on for so long.
I know it is, but you have to clean it up. When you're not broke, you don't care. Now you're broke.
You're right.
So what the heck?
And
I go by
say-
what's in the bank.
Listen, I wanna say thank you for what you do.
Well-
I met with you a while ago, and I saw what you needed to do and how you needed to extrapolate all that data to be able to come up with those spreadsheets. It's a lot of work, so thank you very much for doing it.
Well, we're trying. I don't know if we
And
have
then, and the only thing I wanna share, what I wanna caution is, make sure you share it with Mr. Herzog, because I think if you're gonna volunteer to do that kind of work, and he can verify it, you know, that we work in tandem.
I promised Mr. Hartzell I would give him the first opportunity to comment on all this stuff and point out where I'm wrong, if I am, or whatever, and how do we solve the problem.
Thank you.
And then, but the thing is, we're under a squeeze here with budget, so we have to get out the information. Okay?
I would just like to say one thing, Mr. Hunsinger. I like what I see here. This is what the word transparency means. You guys are cooperating, trying to fix the problem. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Patricia Tyler. I'm a homeowner and business owner in the city of Allentown. And I'm just here because I was wondering if there is any way there can be a new project implemented for protection of targeted individuals that own property.
All right, ma'am, this is for the budget for Public Works. If you want to speak at courtesy of the floor, which is going to be shortly, I think that's would be the proper place for that. Thank you. Mr. Hahn?
Good evening again, Tom Hahn, east side of Allentown. The wish list that I'd like to talk about, I wish I could find for the 1.7 million.
Okay, hold on. Is this going to be about Public Works? or-
Yeah, in other words,
Or the
all the
general
money
fund?
that we allow in the solid waste fund to act like the 205 money that we're trying to protect, that was at one time a lockbox, at one time a stabilization, all that stuff. If we allow the money that's in the solid waste just to be another way to borrow money at the taxpayer expense. Why can't we use that money to lower the taxes? In other words, we're paying $375 to put into that fund, and if it was invested in something, we'd get a return. Now we're, as a bad business partner, we're giving it away for nothing, and eventually, when the money's not gonna be there, we're gonna have to raise the fee for bad management of the same amount of money. That's what I'm saying. I wish we had a better solution, and that the proprietary funds had such restrictions on them that they had to be used for what they were called for, and then the transfers of money, every time there's a crisis that we don't know where they go back because no one has a record of where they came from. And on the capital projects, if it started out at $1 million and then they used some of it and it get moved down, that million should still be counted, not where the money is now at maybe 200 or 300,000 on a project. It still should have details of how it was and what was done, so that the public knows that if we have another bond issue, that it's not gonna be used on something that we had already a bond on.
Mr. Messenger, you wanna address that or no? Or Mr. Hartzell?
The quarterly capital report identifies not only the projects that are active and how much has been still available on them, but also shows how much has actually been spent on them, and we assign them by particular bond issues or other financing issues to which they are assigned. That data is very clearly shared and is provided to you quarterly.
And is that in the budget book?
It is a separate document that we present as sort of quarterly capital report. The last one we put out would have been in late October.
Okay, all right, maybe you can get with Mr. Hartzell and you guys can address that, okay?
So this is the other part of what we're looking for, that public affirmation. Now, if for any reason that we can't get this information out for you guys at budget time, the only other recourse is the forensic audit.
All right, well, that's a different topic, okay? All right, anybody else have anything for the public? Sir? State your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Ryan Hunts.
This is strictly on the budget for public works, okay.
Ryan Hunsinger, chapter leader, SEIU, 32 BJ. This pertains specifically to solid waste, which I work out of. Two things. Page 363 on the big book, which I apologize on the small book with. Under rentals, number 30, there's an increase of 84,000. I didn't hear anybody address that yet. What is how'd that increase $84,000?
Well, that would be for equipment that would be purchased.
Purchased equipment? So is that active stuff that we're paying lease on?
Lease payments.
Lease payments?
Yes.
Okay. And that other services charge, number 50, that increased 57, was that combination of spread out amongst the accounts there? With that 42 that you alluded to earlier? Is that what that was?
Yeah, some items from 46 went to 40.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Under the proposed detail book, page 211 and 212, I'll do 211 first. Number 5, why is there equipment rentals for snow in there for 20,000? Is that specific, always been in there for 20,000?
Yeah, that is a line item that was always in there, yes.
Always pay out of solid waste?
It would be utilized out of the other funds first, if there would be a big emergency or something where we had to go with it, yes, there was funds expended.
So I guess my question would be, why would the 20,000 just be in the other funds, added to the other funds, and why would it be out of solid waste?
Well, I guess it was put there that way there to share some of the hurt as far as with an emergency going on. I understand your concerns with it, and we only use that fund, that's the last gas we would use out of any of it. But then also for the rentals, obviously, if there's anything that,
Only because it's an enterprise fund. I mean, the enterprise funds, it's strictly for that. And it's not to be pushed around to, snow removal or something like that. But, the other one was page 212. Monitoring the Superfund site, which is of 52,968, number 8. What is that dollar amount entail?
a contract that we currently have with the monitoring activities that go on there for the testing of the.
So we monitor it, but what do they test? I mean, what does that company do? I never heard of it testing enough, that's why I asked that.
That's part of an agreement that was made years and years ago with the EPA. That was our requirement then as the city, because we were somebody that
Right.
dumped there at that. So yes, so there are monitoring wells that need to be tested, and that's part of the contract for that.
Okay, my next one is number 11, page 212, and this alludes back to Councilman Garidi's statement about the solid waste and single stream. That JP Mascaro contract for $100,000, did that go up from last year's?
We're lowering it because we're gonna be hauling in-house now for the metals, that part of it.
So what was the breakdown of the disposal cost for single stream?
There was more in, obviously, the recycling part of it. The return on it was more lucrative in the previous years. With everything going with the recycling market, that number goes down, and then there's more cost to it. That's why we took a look at that, and we figured it'd be better off doing the services in-house.
As far as the rentals go, but the single stream is what's going up, per ton.
The single stream for what we have to pay for.
What we have to pay for to get rid of it. That goes back to what you were saying, Julio, about the single stream versus the commingle. We already had it separated. Now we're at the worst we've ever been with contamination. We have more garbage in our single stream, in our recycling stuff than we ever had. I know, I haul it every day. I see it. So it's not, that's why that number's gonna go up, because you're gonna have to pay to get rid of it. And there's only certain materials in that are profitable anymore. Paper and cardboard. And you already had that separated. All you had to do is market it. Simple. But now you can't, now it's all contaminated into one. Now you gotta re-educate everybody, you have to do that over again. So, a little food for thought, thank you.
Again, just to address that though, there's the $600,000 extra we would have to pay is nowhere near what the cost would be that we're doing now.
So what is the cost of doing it in-house then? If you go in-house to do that pickup for just the cardboard and the paper, that's all profitable material. They process the same material no matter what they get.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, this is not something we accept from the audience.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else? Okay, Mr. Messinger, again, thank you. We're gonna take a short 5-minute break before the regular meeting, and Vice President Alpha's gonna take over. I'll let you know what we're needing for the steak dinner. Cassie, you can go alone, I don't overtime though.
Salary.